The sleek silver spacecraft sliced through the Earth's atmosphere, cloaked by advanced Centaurus technology that rendered it invisible to human eyes and radar. Inside, Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh prepared for their mission. The three top students from the Galactic Academy on Centaurus Prime had been chosen for their exceptional skills and dedication to the pursuit of knowledge. Now, they were tasked with studying human culture and reporting their findings back to their home planet. Zara, the empathetic leader with a keen interest in sociology and history, adjusted her translator device, ensuring it was synced perfectly with Earth's languages. Crix, the analytical mind focused on political science and economics, double-checked the data packs they would use to blend in seamlessly with human society. Murtaugh, the creative genius fascinated by arts and literature, flipped through a digital portfolio of Earth's most celebrated works, eager to experience them firsthand. The spacecraft landed softly in a secluded forest outside the bustling city, its arrival masked by the dense foliage. The trio activated their cloaking devices, which allowed them to appear as ordinary humans, and stepped out into the fresh, unfamiliar air of Earth. The nearby university town buzzed with life as students hurried between classes, cafes, and dormitories. The aliens enrolled in the university under the guise of foreign exchange students, their cover stories meticulously crafted to withstand any scrutiny. The bustling campus, with its mix of architectural styles and vibrant student life, was both overwhelming and exhilarating. Zara quickly found herself immersed in her sociology and history courses. She marveled at the diversity of thought and culture, participating in lively debates about social structures, historical events, and human behavior. She joined a study group where she met Emily, a passionate history major who became a close friend. Emily's enthusiasm for uncovering the past matched Zara's curiosity, and the two often stayed up late discussing the nuances of historical events. Crix, with his analytical prowess, excelled in his political science and economics classes. He was fascinated by the complexities of human governance and economic systems, attending lectures and seminars with fervent interest. He became friends with a group of politically active students who introduced him to the intricacies of Earth politics, from grassroots movements to global diplomacy. Murtaugh's journey through the world of arts and literature was a sensory delight. He attended art exhibitions, theater productions, and poetry readings, absorbing the richness of human creativity. He struck up a friendship with Lily, a talented artist and writer, who showed him the hidden gems of the local art scene. Together, they explored galleries, discussed literature, and collaborated on creative projects. As the weeks turned into months, the trio's admiration for humanity grew. They were impressed by the resilience, innovation, and diversity they encountered. However, Zara began to notice something troubling in her history classes. While the textbooks covered major events and figures, they often glossed over the darker aspects of human history. Discussions were superficial, avoiding deeper moral questions about the consequences of past actions. Intrigued and concerned, Zara shared her observations with Crix and Murtaugh. The three decided to investigate further, determined to uncover the truths hidden beneath the surface. They spent long nights in the university library, accessing restricted sections and reading through old newspapers, classified documents, and personal accounts. Zara's heart ached as she read about the atrocities committed throughout history, the genocides, the wars, the oppression. She learned about the Holocaust, where millions of innocent lives were extinguished in an unfathomable act of cruelty. She read about the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where the destructive power of humanity's technology was unleashed with devastating consequences. She discovered the brutal realities of colonialism, where entire cultures were decimated in the name of progress and profit. The more they learned, the heavier the burden on their hearts became. They realized that humanity's history was not just a tale of progress and achievement, but also one of suffering and injustice. The trio's initial admiration was tempered by the sobering realization of the darkness that lurked in the shadows of human civilization. One evening, as they sat in their small apartment, surrounded by stacks of books and papers, Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh shared a moment of silence. Tears streamed down their faces as they grappled with the weight of their discoveries. The suffering of countless individuals throughout history was a heavy burden to bear, and it shattered their idealistic view of humanity. Zara looked at her friends, her voice trembling. "We came here to learn and to understand, but what we've found is beyond anything we could have imagined. How can a species capable of such beauty and innovation also commit such atrocities?" Crix nodded, his analytical mind struggling to reconcile the contradictions. "It's a stark reminder of the duality of existence. The potential for greatness and the capacity for darkness exist side by side." Murtaugh wiped away his tears, his creative spirit undiminished. "We have to keep going. We need to understand the full picture no matter how painful it is. Only then can we truly appreciate the complexities of humanity." With renewed determination, the trio continued their mission, knowing that their journey was far from over. They had uncovered a truth that was difficult to bear, but it was a truth that needed to be faced. Their exploration of humanity's past had only just begun, and they were prepared to confront whatever lay ahead. The library became Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh's sanctuary. It was a sprawling, multi-level building filled with an immense collection of books, documents, and digital archives. Every evening after their classes, they would convene in a secluded corner, hidden away from the bustling activity of the main halls. Here, surrounded by the scent of aged paper and the soft hum of computer terminals, they began their quest for the deeper truths of human history. Zara's curiosity led her to the university's restricted archives. Gaining access was no small feat, but her persistence paid off. She befriended Dr. Reynolds, an elderly historian with a reputation for being a gatekeeper of the university's most guarded secrets. Zara's genuine interest and respectful approach eventually won him over, and he granted her special access to the archive. Inside the dimly lit room, Zara found herself surrounded by towering shelves filled with dusty tomes, classified documents, and fragile manuscripts. She handled each item with care, aware of the weight of the knowledge contained within them. The deeper she dug, the more she uncovered about humanity's dark past. She read detailed accounts of genocides, wars, and oppressive regimes, each story more harrowing than the last. One night, as Zara was engrossed in reading a survivor's account of the Rwandan genocide, Crix and Murtaugh entered the archive. Crix had just finished a political science seminar that discussed the Cold War's ideological battles, while Murtaugh had come from a poetry reading that explored themes of suffering and resilience. Zara looked up from the manuscript, her eyes red from hours of reading. "You won't believe what I found. The extent of the violence, the cruelty. It's unimaginable." Crix nodded solemnly. "I've been reading about the economic motivations behind wars and the exploitation of resources. It's horrifying to see how human lives are often sacrificed for power and profit." Murtaugh, with his empathetic nature, was particularly affected by the personal stories. "I attended a poetry reading today. The poet recited a piece about the Trail of Tears. The pain in their words, it's indescribable." The trio spent countless nights in the archive, piecing together the fragments of humanity's dark history. They learned about the Holocaust in chilling detail, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of others deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. Zara found detailed blueprints of concentration camps, eyewitness testimonies, and chilling photographs that documented the horror. Crix delved into the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, uncovering the harrowing details of the bombing's immediate and long-term effects. He read accounts of survivors who described the blinding flash of light, the intense heat, and the aftermath of radiation sickness that plagued generations. Murtaugh focused on the atrocities of colonialism, uncovering the brutal realities faced by indigenous populations around the world. He read about the decimation of cultures, the forced labor, and the systematic erasure of identities in the name of progress and profit. His creative mind struggled to comprehend how such cruelty could be justified under the guise of civilization. One particularly haunting discovery was the documentation of the Armenian genocide. Zara found letters and telegrams exchanged between officials, coldly discussing the logistics of mass deportations and executions. The detachment with which they discussed human lives was chilling. As they shared their findings with each other, the emotional toll became increasingly apparent. They were often overwhelmed by the sheer scale of suffering and the depth of cruelty humans were capable of. Yet, they pressed on, driven by a need to understand the full scope of their mission. Their growing knowledge began to affect their interactions with their classmates and professors. In discussions and debates, Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh began to raise uncomfortable questions. Why were certain events omitted or downplayed in the curriculum? How could humanity reconcile its achievements with its atrocities? Their inquiries were met with a mix of defensiveness, curiosity, and introspection. In a particularly heated seminar, Zara questioned the narrative presented about World War II. We learn about the heroism and the victory, but why do we gloss over the firebombing of Dresden, the internment of Japanese Americans, or the complicity of corporations in the Nazi regime? Her professor, Dr. Michaels, paused, clearly uncomfortable. History is complex, Zara. It's not always easy to balance the scales of right and wrong. We focus on certain aspects to highlight the lessons learned. But isn't it important to confront all aspects of our past, no matter how uncomfortable, to truly learn from it? Zara persisted, her voice unwavering. Her classmates shifted uneasily, some nodding in agreement, others clearly resistant to the idea. This pattern repeated in Crix's and Murtaugh's classes as well. Their persistent questioning and the evidence they presented began to sow seeds of doubt and curiosity among their peers. One evening, the trio sat in their apartment, surrounded by their research materials. The weight of their discoveries hung heavily in the air. Zara broke the silence, her voice filled with determination. We need to share this with more people. It's not enough to just know these truths ourselves. Crix agreed. We should present our findings. Maybe if we can show the evidence, we can spark a broader discussion. Murtaugh, ever the creative thinker, suggested a public presentation. We can create a multimedia presentation, documents, photos, personal accounts. We can't ignore the art and literature that emerged from these periods of suffering either. They tell powerful stories. With a plan in place, they began to prepare. Their presentation would be a comprehensive look at humanity's darkest moments, juxtaposed with its greatest achievements. They hoped to convey the duality of human nature and the importance of confronting the past to build a better future. As they worked late into the night, the alien students felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had come to Earth to learn, and now they were ready to share what they had found, no matter how painful the truth might be. Their mission had taken on a new dimension, one of enlightenment and advocacy, driven by the hope that humanity could learn from its history and strive for a brighter future. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Word of the alien students' presentation had spread across campus, drawing a diverse crowd of students, faculty, and even some curious locals. Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh stood backstage, their hearts pounding with a mix of anxiety and determination. This was their chance to share the painful truths they had uncovered and to inspire a deeper reflection on humanity's history. As the lights dimmed and the audience settled, Zara stepped forward to the podium, her eyes scanning the room. She took a deep breath and began, her voice clear and resolute. Good evening. We are Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh, and tonight we want to share with you a journey through the darkest corners of human history. Our goal is not to condemn, but to understand and to learn. The large screen behind her flickered to life, displaying images from their research. Black and white photos of concentration camps, mushroom clouds over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, haunting faces of colonized peoples. The audience gasped, the weight of these images sinking in. Crix took the stage next, his analytical mind presenting the facts and figures. The Holocaust claimed 6 million Jewish lives, along with millions of others persecuted by the Nazi regime. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed over 200,000 people, leaving a legacy of radiation sickness that affected generations. Colonialism saw the exploitation and decimation of countless indigenous cultures. He paused, letting the gravity of the numbers settle. These are not just statistics. Each number represents a life, a story, a tragedy. Murtaugh followed, his creative spirit bringing a different perspective. Art and literature have long been powerful conduits for expressing human suffering and resilience. Let me share with you a poem written by a survivor of the Hiroshima bombing, Sadako Sasaki, who folded paper cranes in a bid for peace. As he read the poignant verses, the room fell silent, the emotional impact palpable. The trio's presentation was a carefully woven tapestry of historical facts, personal stories, and artistic expressions. It was a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for both destruction and beauty. As they concluded, Zara addressed the audience one last time. We have seen the best and the worst of humanity. The question now is, what will we do with this knowledge? How can we ensure that the horrors of the past are not repeated? It starts with acknowledging the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, and working together to build a future rooted in empathy, justice, and understanding. The room erupted in applause, but it was mixed with the murmurs of deep thought and reflection. The presentation had clearly struck a chord. In the days that followed, the campus buzzed with discussions sparked by the presentation. Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh found themselves at the center of debates, with students and faculty alike eager to engage in deeper conversations about history, morality, and the future. Some reacted defensively, struggling with the idea of confronting such painful truths, while others were inspired to take action. Emily, Zara's friend from the history study group, approached them one afternoon. "Your presentation was incredible. It's made me rethink so much about what I've learned. I want to help. How can we bring this knowledge to more people?" Zara smiled, grateful for the support. "We're planning to organize workshops and discussions, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. We need to keep this conversation going." Crix found himself in deep discussions with his politically active friends, exploring ways to address systemic injustices and promote ethical governance. "We can't change the past, but we can influence the future," he said during one heated debate. "It's up to us to ensure that those in power are held accountable and that policies are rooted in human dignity." Murtaugh collaborated with Lily to create a multimedia exhibit combining art, poetry, and historical artifacts to tell the stories they had uncovered. The exhibit, titled Reflections of Humanity, became a focal point for students to engage with the emotional and ethical complexities of their history. Their efforts extended beyond the university. News of their work reached the broader community, drawing interest from local activists, educators, and even policymakers. The alien students' mission had evolved from a quest for knowledge to a catalyst for change, bridging the gap between the past and the future. As their time on Earth drew to a close, Zara, Crix, and Murtaugh reflected on their journey. They had come to study human culture and had found themselves profoundly changed in the process. They had uncovered truths that were difficult to bear, but they had also witnessed the potential for growth and transformation. On their final night, they gathered on a hill overlooking the city. The lights below shimmered like stars, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. "We've learned so much," Zara said softly, "but our mission doesn't end here. We'll take these lessons back to Zentaris Prime and continue to advocate for understanding and empathy." Crix nodded. "And we'll stay in touch with our friends here, supporting them in their efforts to make a difference." Murtaugh looked out at the horizon, a sense of hope in his eyes. "Humanity has a long way to go, but I believe in their capacity for change. We've seen the worst, but we've also seen the best. That's what we need to hold on to." As the stars above them twinkled in the night sky, the alien students knew that their journey had only just begun. They had faced the darkness and found hope, and with that hope, they were ready to continue their mission of understanding and enlightenment, bridging worlds and fostering a future where the lessons of the past would guide humanity toward a brighter tomorrow.